What's up, guys? Welcome back. So this is going to be one of the most exciting series that I've ever made. Essentially, we're going to be taking Will here if you want to introduce yourself.
All right, so my name is Will, and I've been training for just a little over a year. And right now, I just got a payout from 3 Alpha Future accounts, and I'm scaling to 5 top steps that I just passed this week.
And essentially, we're going to be documenting the process, full emotions, everything, just to help you guys to see what it looks, going from, zero, not technically zero, but from around the beginning to 20K a month. So we're going to be documenting that full process in episodes, however long it takes. It doesn't matter the time. The goal is just, trying our best, and then whenever it happens, it happens. We don't want to rush the process. Same thing I talk about every single video.
Little backstory, actually. So about 2 weeks ago, I decided to switch gyms with my cousin, and we're chilling, listening to music. We're about to go lift some heavy weights, and I see an M4, and it's like, damn, that's a clean ass M4. So 10 minutes go by, I see Cole walking back, and I'm like, no way that's actually Cole.
Yeah.
And I'm not like a very social person. Like, I'm more introverted, and I was contemplating if I should actually go up to him and like say, yo bro, like I just got to pay on 3 accounts, like thank you for your help. And like my hand was like this.
Bro, I was scared
like,
too, bro. I was probably scared too.
I was like, I waved down his cart, and he like rolled down the window like an inch. I'm like, bro, Cole, like I just got these 3 payouts, and like you've actually helped me a lot, and I just want to say thank you. And we started talking, but like honestly, it was just crazy how that worked out.
Exactly. Like, bro, I always say in the videos, like, I'm introverted too, bro. If y'all see, like, you might as well go up to talk, because now we're going to be doing this series with him. I'm excited to document the process. I'm actually first time ever doing something like this. So I'm really hyped. So again, like, listen, might as well just go up.
Just don't let fear control you. Cause like I deadass wasn't about to go up and like say something but I was literally at his car, like just about to start a conversation. My hand was literally like this, like not joking.
Yeah.
But it was worth it, definitely.
So far this week, you have taken 3 trades. Now, the first 2 trades were to pass the set of accounts, and the 3rd trade was actually taken on the past set. But if you want to show them, so you ended up passing them.
So on Tuesday, I passed, is it focus?
Yeah.
I passed 5 top step accounts in 2 trading days. And Wednesday, which was yesterday, I took a long. And I guess since I was on 5 accounts, I got a little bit, not scared, but like I just didn't want to lose. And I trailed super tight, like my stop loss. And as soon as I got wicked out, price went straight to my take profit, and I would have made double than what I like already made.
Yeah, so you made around 500 per account. And how did you feel after you ended up getting wicked out and then it went to your TP? Like, did you have...
I was upset, and like I was like, damn, why didn't I just keep it at break even? Like I would have been fine, and I would have made way more money than I did. But I got a little emotional, not gonna lie, but I'm still getting used to the like 5x. Like every single trade I take is times 5.
Yeah. Are you trying, like, what do you... Like, the best way is you want to obviously dissociate from the fact that you are trading 5 accounts. But obviously, like, as we say, you are human, you are going to understand that. But right now, like, the fact that, you're emotionally managing it is not a good thing. And that now you said, like, I would have made double. I don't really like that mindset. It's more of the fact that it's like you technically broke your rules, because you usually don't trail like that, right?
No, I never trail my stop. I usually either just keep my stop loss where it is or go break even as soon as like we close above an internal high or low. And I just decided to trail my stop because I was emotional.
Yeah. Okay. So moving forward. So obviously when we recognize something like that, the first thing that I need you to do is next time you're taking trades, just try your best. Don't watch them. Like, whether you want to set your alert, whether you want to just like walk away. Like, I know today you did a good job. You said you were scrolling on TikTok while we were ranging, and you didn't take something. That is essentially what you want to be doing when you have risk on the trade, because obviously you watching that, you realize that you are not quite at the level to be able to make sound decisions that are not emotional decisions. Because obviously, yes, trailing your stop up, it can make sense. But when you're trailing it emotionally, it's difficult, like, especially when you have P&L on the line.
Yeah.
You don't really know whether you're trailing because you're emotional or because it's actually, data backed. So that's the first thing. The second thing too is currently you do not have a journal. So what we're gonna do is we're going to end up opening up a Notion journal just to make sure that we are tracking absolutely every single trade. Now, on top of that, one thing that we're also going to do as a preventative measure is every single night, I'm gonna want him to send me proof that he is locked out at 1 trade for the day. And I know it sounds stupid, but I promise you, this is one of the biggest issues people will make. They think that they can fight the urge, and then one day they just have a bad day. Maybe you had like something bad happen in your life. Maybe you got fired from work or whatever, and you go into a day and you're just slightly more emotional. Having that as a backup to beat that emotional response you might make. Like yesterday, you were able to combat your emotions, but imagine you were just having an off day and it's like, you just clicked it again. And what could have happened? You could have blew them. And obviously that is not what we want to do. But right now with these accounts, you're sitting at 500. The goal is to get to around 2K, I will say, so you can request that first 5K payout. And obviously the goal is not to focus on that amount, but actually focus on the trades and the day-to-day process in order to reach that amount. I think today you did a really good job. You hopped on and you said what? You saw the line chart?
I saw that line chart and it was just going up, down, up, down, up, down in the range. So I just got on my phone, was watching TikTok, and I didn't take any dumb trades.
Exactly. So essentially the way I see it, that's what I did too. Well, I actually caught something overnight, but I saw that we were ranging. Don't want to put yourself in a position to even get tempted to trade. Like imagine especially too, like you got wicked out yesterday, you knew you could have made more, and now you go into today and maybe you're like slightly frustrated and you're like, damn, like I should have made money back. I need to make my money back. And that's where people go wrong, right? That's why it's so important to, set these preventative measures. But that is currently kind of where we're sitting at. That is currently, the next steps moving forward. Okay, so one thing we wanted to talk about is kind of how you go about your day-to-day to stay focused on the actual journey rather than the result. And compared like 3 months ago, I feel like you're more focused on the result.
So 3 months ago, I was not patient at all, and like literally all I could do was trade. Like I had to take a trade every single day, otherwise I started like geeking out. Like it was bad, and I would stay on the chart for like 2 to 3 hours, and that's like way longer than what I do now.
Yeah, now you stay about like an hour in the morning. And kind of like, what's your day-to-day routine?
So I wake up like 30 minutes before market open, have a little routine, and by 9:45 I'm off the charts no matter what. And I work construction, so that kind of keeps my routine in line, because I trade for an hour 15 minutes. If I take something, I take it. If I don't, then oh well. I go work, and then I come to the gym around after I'm done with that, and I just do literally anything but trading, and it actually helps.
And essentially, just so the viewers know, we are in Texas, so it is Central Time, so that is 10:45 EST. So an hour and 15, and we're about to hit a nice leg day. We're at the gym. Neither of us took anything during AM. It was absolutely chopped. We were just ranging, barcoding. So another day sticking to the rules, another day where you progress, another day where we're gonna go journal, reflect, and we're about to hit this leg day. Bruh. Oh, hell nah. So it is currently Saturday. We are at my apartment and we have a little update. We're going to make the journal template. We're going to reflect on the week. Did have some situation happen on Friday, but again, that is why we're gonna journal, and we are going to learn from it. Again, nothing deep, no accounts blown, but we'll get into it. First trade was taken on Wednesday. This was the long, and essentially what happened, you started trailing a bit too early. Why? An emotional trail. The original target was what? 191 at this hourly gap, but what you ended up trailing to was 175. So I'm guessing you just trailed your stop loss very aggressively here, which was in a gap, obviously a spot that you shouldn't be trailing. An emotional trail. Now, currently inputting the first trade, the result, the picture, and now we are going to go to our reflection. Now, what is important to write here is essentially you took a trade that did follow your rules. You had your draw, you had your bias, it was a trade you were confident in, but where did you break your rules? You managed it, emotionally instead of a data-driven decision. So that is essentially what we're gonna write here. We're about to type this out and I'll show you what we're gonna put. As soon as market opened, we displaced higher. I had good volume towards the draw. Target was the hourly gap. As soon as price retraced, I was confident the gap would hold since we were displacing towards the hourly gap. And instead of bidding on my confidence and going break even, walking away, letting price either hit your stop loss or your break even stop loss or your TP, I started trailing emotionally. Why? Because it was your first time trading with 5 accounts. As we see, we had that first trade right there. Now this should have been 800, but due to the trail, it was essentially half. So that's kind of like the first thing we're gonna log. And then on Friday, you took a loss. Now the reason the loss happened, if you kind of explain, not an excuse, but
it's not an excuse, but I accidentally locked myself out of trading NQ and MNQ because I put on the one trade limit.
Yeah, so essentially you put on the trade limit, as I said, you did send me that, but then you ended up blocking.
I blocked MNQ and NQ thinking that I had to like put the symbol that I want to block for the trade limit. So as soon as I had my entry on NQ, Friday, I tried to take it and it said personal risk settings won't allow this trade.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn.
The trade you did try taking on Friday was this right here. And then after your order obviously got blocked, you tried taking it on NQ. You tried on MNQ first, and then you tried taking it on NQ at the second entry, the same one I took on Friday, and it blocked it again.
As well.
At this time, okay, so, what were you feeling? Like,
so obviously, you know, I was a little frustrated that I had like 2 winning trades that would have hit almost instantly. And at the time, we had just edged all-time high, so I was thinking, there's no way we're not gonna go to all-time highs. Like, we're not just gonna exit. So I go to ES, and as soon as I get like a little bit bullish confirmation, I entered a kind of an emotional. It was an emotional trade. I shouldn't have taken that trade.
And this is a trade I know you would normally not take.
Yeah, I would never take this trade.
But you took it. Why? Because of the fact that you missed out on 2 trades. And this is kind of the first lesson, not the first lesson, an important lesson. You are going to miss out on some trades. Here, it's unfortunate. It was a software. It locked you out. Yes, it's annoying. But what do you do when you end up doing an emotional trade? You are going to take that loss. Now, next time it might not be software. Maybe you just missed the setup. But is that when you want to re-enter? No, it's not, because that is what caused the loss. Obviously, if you stepped away, you would have been break even on the day, net 0. But since you took the loss, thankfully, you know, we had the limit set, so there was no chance of, you know, trading after that. But were you feeling kind of on tilt after you lost that? Were you mad at yourself for taking that?
I was definitely mad at myself for taking it, because as soon as you know, I got stopped out, I like really looked at the trade and I'm like, why did I just take this trade?
Exactly.
I would never take this trade like on a day-to-day basis. Like, this isn't a trade that I would take.
Now, essentially what we're writing down is the thought process going into Friday and the trade you were going to take, and then we're going to reflect on what you ended up taking due to that emotional fact that you got locked out of your trade. Now, another thing that we're going to write down is, at the time, even though it was emotional, you did think that possibly it was going to play out. So another reflection we're going to have is the fact that price did what? Edge all-time high. This candle right here should have taken all-time high. The fact that we edge it and now we sell off more aggressively than we bought up, you can see these 2 candles pretty much invalidate this whole up move in about half the time. And then this next pop up, you can see it is not nearly as aggressive as this down move. We are still kind of in this bearish structure. And I bet you if I went to the line chart, you can see, boom, we made this lower low, retrace, and then made the lower low, right? So essentially even there, the idea was flawed. But again, I don't think it's something you would have normally taken. It is something that you took simply because of the emotional state you were in, which brought your guard down, brought your, you know, analysis down into taking a, you know, subpar setup. All right, so we have this reflection written down, essentially what you were looking for going into the day and what you actually ended up taking, why it was emotional, why it was, you know, not backed by data, why it was not a trade you would normally take. And the whole goal with this is going into next week, what you're gonna be able to do is, and what I'm gonna have you do is, before market open, going in Monday, what you're gonna do is you're gonna read back on that journal. Because what is that journal essentially going to prove and remind you of? It's gonna remind you of, you have to trust yourself more. When you trust yourself, you trusted yourself on the first setup. If you let it play out, you would have hit your full TP for, you know, like 800 per account. And if you trusted yourself and essentially you said, hey, it did lock me out, that was unfortunate, it should have been a win, but that is just what happened. Instead, I'm gonna walk away because I don't want to FOMO into a worse setup. And essentially you didn't trust yourself, you kind of strayed away from that trust and you ended up taking an emotional trade. So the whole goal with this journal is like, yeah, you might have been frustrated, you might be frustrated at how the week ended, but when you really reflect on it, it's like, it doesn't mean that you're a bad trader. Like, it doesn't mean that you're being stupid. As a matter of fact, if you trusted yourself, you would have taken 2 trades for the week and you would have won both. But instead, when that emotion kicked in, it caused you to be essentially break even on the week. And that's the reflection. That's why it's so important to write this stuff down, because when you look at it in the morning on Monday, you're gonna see it. You're probably gonna be pretty frustrated. You're gonna look at that P&L. I want you to actually look at the screenshots of the trades, and you're gonna look at it and be like, damn, like why did I do that, right? And that should, you know, scare you, not even scare you, but make you mad enough to not take a setup like that again, not execute emotionally, right? When that comes up, because it's gonna come up, it's relatively gonna come up again next week. An example like that, maybe you're in a trade, you want to manage it emotionally, but you're gonna remember, hey, you're gonna read this, you're gonna jog your memory in the morning, and you're like, no, I'm not gonna fucking do that, because that fucked me last week.
Because the
right?
last time I managed my trade emotionally, it literally fucked me.
Exactly.
Like I would have hit double the amount, and it doesn't matter, hindsight's 2020, but if I would have just trusted in myself and in my strategy, I would have hit full TP, and I would not have been break even on the week. I would have been up.
Essentially, and that's why it's so important to look at the data, because in the time, I'm sure on Friday, you realize that, but a lot of times going into next week, you might forget it, or you just might be tired in the morning, and you're like, fuck it, let me take it. But if you really jog your memory, you would be stupid, if you're reminded of it in the morning and it comes up 15 minutes later, you would literally be stupid. You would be going against every single rule you promise yourself as a person to take that trade, because it's not backed by data, it's not backed by what your goal is, which is obviously to succeed in this field, and it's something that you should not be doing long term.
I thought it was a pretty good week. On Monday and Tuesday, to pass my evos, I took trades that I would normally take on an express account, and I just sized really heavy, making 1,500 on both days to pass the evals in 2 days. And now I took the trade on Wednesday, and even though I managed it emotionally, it was a good trade, and I'm happy I took it. And now that I'm journaling it, I'm gonna read over it pretty much every single day before I trade, and realize that if I just stick to my rules and I'm confident in myself and in my system, I'm gonna end up green on the week, on the month, and I just need to trust in that.
Yeah.
And now with the trade on Friday, though, it was unfortunate that I got locked out of my accounts, and I would have taken a green trade and locked out of my accounts, which was unfortunate. But because I took that emotional trade on ES, and I realized what happens whenever I don't follow my rules, it kind of reassures me that whenever I do follow my rules, I stick to my system, I'm going to take good trades, and more than likely they're going to be green.
Exactly. And another thing I'm gonna touch on, even when that week comes, if it comes where you do have a red week, but you did actually execute to the best of your ability, you're still gonna learn, you're still going to improve. And you can see now, reflecting, I always think at the time, in any given day, maybe you have a bad day, you take a bad trade, or maybe you have a bad week. At the time, it feels like the end of the world. That is why it's tempting to crash out. That is why it's tempting to break your rules. But when you zoom out, we look back on the week, you get all the data, I feel like it just reassures you, because it tells you that, hey, it truly is, all I have to do is follow the plan, right? And every time I deviate away from that plan, that is what happens. And that's why it's so important to get that constant reassurance, the constant convincing and seeing proof that that is what you have to do, because every single day when you go into the day, you are going to be less and less likely to cave against that, because you see exactly what happens when you do it. And that repetition, again, it's just like building any other habit. When you build that good habit, you build a habit that you don't go against your own word. You don't not trust yourself. That's most of my journal entries look like that too. If you all saw the journal video I made 2.5 weeks ago, or 2 weeks ago, on my journal, I literally said I have to trust myself more. That is what I reflect on too as well. And that is the goal, is to have full, undisclosed trust in yourself, because that makes trading way less stressful. It's going to make you less confident. It's going to make you, be able to detach more from the result and actually focus on the trades, you taking good trades, because the confident trades you take, those are the trades that play out. Those are the ones that pan out. Those are the ones that build your P&L. But whenever you deviate away from that, you do set yourself back. And it is frustrating, but obviously it doesn't have to be that way. Reflecting back, it's it comes down to taking what you are confident in. This is the account that you actually got these, 3 payouts on. And I want you to kind of go through. You can see right here, you were taking definitely a bit more trades, I feel like. Still obviously following your plan pretty well. You're taking, 1-2 trades a day, but you did say your performance, there's some things that you made mistakes. And the fact that you weren't journaling, I feel like you probably made them maybe a couple times. So if you want to kind of, talk about that. And then you did end up, what was it? October here, this is where you did end up clapping them. So if we can go through like the little, kind of full breakdown, we'll kind of go back, maybe some stuff you remember, but you did last the whole month on the accounts. So, not too bad, but if you want to get into that.
For the 10th, I think that was CPI day. And with CPI, you can take a trade to the data low or data high.
Yeah.
And I messed up the draw on liquidity. And so I think as soon as market opened, I thought that we had already taken out the CPI data wick, which we didn't.
Yeah.
And I messed up the draw on liquidity because as soon as we had to retrace, I couldn't enter it on like the first or second candle that we displaced back to the data wick. And instead I waited we kept displacing lower. And by then there was no more draw on liquidity to target. Like I was just targeting, hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And that trade, obviously I lost. I mean, I lost the trade, but it was just a draw on liquidity mistake.
And essentially, like the fact that you're even struggling to remember honestly reassures the journaling idea, because if you journaled it, you would know exactly all of these trades, why you took them, your reflection. And I'm sure there's some of these losses or even some of the other trades where maybe you shouldn't have taken it. Some of these days where you have 2 trades, I'm sure maybe one was not the best. Like, I don't know. You don't even know. But that is why it's so important to journal, because it holds you accountable. You look at that data, you can look back on that data, and I'm sure you definitely could have performed slightly better. Obviously, this was still sufficient to get those payouts, which is good, but you didn't, truly fully learn and improve to the max level, to the max extent that you could. Why? Because you don't have that journal. You don't have that data. If you had data on all of these trades, like how many did you take? Realistically, maybe around 20 trades. That is like 20 trades. I'm sure out of those losses, maybe there's like, 5 or 6. I'm sure you can maybe weed out some stuff and, able to improve even more. So that's why it is so important to journal. That's why from now on, the 2 main things we're focusing on is obviously having ourselves locked out at 1 trade. That is going to be mandatory every day. But on top of that, every trade is going to be fully journaled, exact reasonings why, and you are going to reflect on this every day before, coming into market open. 10 minutes before, a quick jog just to get your memory and assure you the right mindset going into every single day. In February, you did get your first payout, but then you kind of strategy hopped and it set you back like 4 months. If you want to kind of talk about why that happened.
So in the beginning of this year, I was already trading continuations, and I got my first payout in February, and I got 2 payouts in March. And on April 1st, I'm pretty sure it was that day, I had missed my entry for a continuation to a low, and I saw that we were reversing pretty strongly. So I'm like, I could really take a reversal trade right now. And we got a liquidity sweep. Things were looking good, and I was trading a super mechanical strategy that I haven't touched in like 5 months or something. I'm not confident in that. I don't have data to back it up. And I took the trade, and I caught like 200 points, and I made like $3,600 per account to pass 3 evals. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should switch to this. Maybe I should strategy hop and just stay on this. And that's not what you want to do, because I ended up blowing all those accounts, and I literally delayed my progress by 3 or 4 months.
That's why I always say one of the worst things, and this is where like ego kind of gets to your head, when you win a trade that you shouldn't have won. And what I mean by that is like there is no good trades, there is no bad trades like technical wise. A good trade is one that follows your data and your system. A bad trade is one that goes against it. Obviously, if you only trade the reversals, that is what you've been trading, that is what you're confident in, that trade would have followed your strategy, you caught a banger win, sure. But when it's against the way you trade, and now you take that win, it makes you want to switch. It makes you want to, ignore all the data, ignore all the confidence you had. And that's obviously when you end up falling back into those bad habits. So, I mean, what did you learn from that now, looking back?
So if you take a trade and it's against your rules, it's against your strategy, and you win it, the market is going to get that money back. You're not keeping it. You might be green for the day.
Even for the week.
Even for the week, the market is going to take that money back.
I've seen it happen so many times before. People will break their rules. Like maybe they have a rule trading 1-2 times a day, and I'll see it'll be like 10 trades for the day, and I'm like, what are you doing? And then it's always like, but I'm green. Every single time it gets taken away. Even if you have a month, I've even seen people have really good months, they'll have a green month, but I'm looking and it's like a bunch of trades, they broke their rules, you better hope the next month, the month after, it's all going to be taken away. It is going to be taken away because you can't succeed without following your plan. Like at every base level, that's what every trader is gonna tell you for a reason, because that's the truth, right? And that's why it's so important to, swat these things away. When you get a temptation to switch your strategy, that is why it's important to have the data. Because when you look back on your journal, if that journal instead of 2, it had 100 trades proving the exact way you trade, why would you ever stray away from that? Because you know that all you need to do is follow that, continue following that, and you're going to improve month by month, year by year. You're only going to become a better trader. You're only going to be able to size, more, allocate more, be more confident, stress less. And whenever you deviate from that, you are setting yourself back. You are putting yourself back in that loop that a lot of people will get stuck in for years. And again, it's not worth it. It is just not worth it. And looking back, you see, there's no reason you should ever go back to that. You're not going to go back to that. But the same way, you break a tiny one of your rules now for the strategy, that is what can cause that loop as well. And that is why it's so important to journal everything, keep track of everything, because that is going to stop you from making that decision real time, stop you from making that mistake again, from you getting back into that loop. There is a very, very big thing I like to call either a positive feedback loop or a negative feedback loop. When you're in a good loop, you're taking good trades, you're following your rules. It is easy to get more wins, to get more trades, to get more good trades, because what? You are just used to this habit. When you fall back into that negative loop and now you start taking bad trades, your confidence down, you're like, oh, I'm an ass trader. I'm just gonna take ass trades. Who even cares? You get in that self-sabotage mindset. I bet that's what happened when you started strategy hopping. You probably at one point you were just like, I don't even like, you're probably just taking whatever, bro.
Yeah, I was second guessing even trading at all. Like, I was like, because as soon as I strategy hopped and, I was green for that one day, I passed accounts. It didn't go well after that. I blew the accounts almost immediately. And, I was obviously thinking like, damn, is trading even for me? Like, should I even keep doing this?
That's why, again, man, it is so important to reassure yourself with data, with things that don't lie. The journal is not going to lie. That is why it is so difficult to do, because it will show you your true self. It will show you exactly what you're doing. And when that doesn't line up with your goals, it frustrates you. You have to drop your ego. You have to swallow your ego in order to journal, in order to reflect, in order to improve. That is why this game is so hard. That is why it's so difficult. But moving forward over the next couple of weeks, the next couple of months, that's all we're going to be doing is slightly improving, slightly getting better and letting time do the rest. Time is going to, be the one thing that you can't change. You can't speed up. You can't speed up that process. You have to submit yourself to that journey. But the only way that journey works is if you are constantly improving. You are constantly holding yourself accountable and not falling back into those habits. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this, first, update or a little episode. But I will catch you guys in the next one.